What's up, everybody? This is Shannon Clancy, Program Director for the Junior Wizards, and welcome back to the Monumental Coaches Academy. So our guest today is Coach Landon Tatum. Coach Tatum is an assistant coach here for the Wizards. His focus with the team here is largely on the player development side. So we're going to dig deep into player development, skill development, and all things related to that. So, Coach, thanks for coming on. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So first, just want to have our coaches who are watching just get to know you, get to know your journey, and how you got to where you are here with an NBA franchise. So I know you're from San Antonio. Is that correct? You from Texas?
Yes, born and raised San Antonio, Texas.
Okay, so went San Antonio to Idaho. So how did that happen? So you played it. Was it right away you went right into Idaho, or was there another school in between? Well, you tell us.
So I actually went to South Plains Junior College for 2 years, where I was lucky enough my freshman year to win the national championship in junior college. Played there for 2 years, and after that, I transferred to the University of Idaho, which was in the WAC, or the Western Athletic Conference at the time. I redshirted my first year and then played my last 2 years. And the interesting thing about that was when I was getting recruited back in junior college, I had taken a visit to Northern Arizona, Toledo, and Idaho. And I actually was planning on committing to Toledo. And I took a visit the same weekend to Toledo first and Idaho second. And for some reason, I went up to Idaho, ended up loving it. And I also believe at that time, the WAC was just a really good competitive conference. And that's really how I got to the University of Idaho. I just thought the competition level was better. At that time, Paul George was at Fresno State. Just a lot. Luke Babbitt was at Nevada as well as Armand Johnson. So I just thought competition wise, it was going to help my game out a whole lot more going to there. And, I'm glad I did.
Cool. And you played overseas for a year after that, right?
Yes. I went to Germany for a year, which was an awesome experience. Got to learn the culture. Probably is the reason why I get along with Isak Bonga and Mo Wagner over here. But, it just helped me grow my game and really just gave me another chance to play. And while I was there, I also got to do a little bit of coaching on the side as well with some of the younger kids, which was also interesting because I didn't really know the language that well. Even though they kind of had a class for the Americans to take with the head coach's wife at the time, it was still difficult to really communicate with them. But, basketball is just it's a language in itself. It's pretty self-explanatory at times. So it was easy and fun for me.
So when was it that you decided that coaching was going to be the thing you wanted to pursue? Was it when you got to Germany and got that opportunity, or did you kind of have that in the back of your head, earlier on?
It definitely wasn't until I got to Germany and was helping out the kids. And then when I went and took the director of basketball operations at Idaho, because prior to that, I wanted nothing to do with coaching. And the reason for me with that was I didn't know how I would handle people with egos, because ego is a big thing. And I found that out more so in Division I than I did in junior college, because in junior college, everybody's basically the same attitude. Everybody's hungry when it gets to the next level. Division I, you go from guys that aren't as hungry to guys that are like, especially the guys that come from high school where they're basically the man on the team, as to where most people in a Division I, they were all the mans on the team in high school, but now it's about putting everybody together. And I didn't know how I would deal with that getting older. But as I got older, I found out how much fun I had doing it and how much of a relationship you could have with guys, to where egos don't matter. It's about relationships and building that, which in turn help you with developing them as people and players.
So that's interesting because that's one of the questions I wanted to ask you was a lot of the things that coaches have to deal with is getting their players to understand their role within the team. Not everybody's going to be the lead scorer. Not everybody is going to have the ball in their hands all the time. At your level now, that's exacerbated to heights that no one else in youth basketball can even imagine, because everybody in the NBA has been the man at some point in their life for the majority of their life. And then they come to you and they have to accept the role that they've never had to do before, maybe do some things that were never a focus before because they were the lead scorer or they were the point guard with the ball in their hands, and now they're being asked to play more off the ball. So how do you approach that when you talk about ego and getting a player to kind of drop their ego a little and accept the role within the bigger picture of what the team is trying to do?
I think the way I like to look at it is I think personal relationships with players is key in the sense of they have to know that you care about them and their well-being. To me, I think at times coaches at every level struggle with making it as a business. Maybe not as much in the middle school and maybe certain places of high school, because I know in DC they had the whole recruiting going on for certain high schools, but in Texas you don't really have that, and at least in San Antonio because it's illegal. And then of course when you get to college, you have the business aspect of, well, we need to win. So it's basketball first. But I think coaches can forget about they're still people and kids at that point when they're that age. So having a personal relationship with a guy at this level works so key, because if you're personal with them and you can really understand them as a person, not just on the court, but off of it as well, I feel they're more apt to really accept their role and really listen to you, knowing that you have their best well-being at the end of the day.
So talk to us about your role now. So player development is your main focus on the coaching staff. So what is your day-to-day like? Like, what are you doing now? Players are scattered all over the country, obviously, but so talk to us about what that role entails with the Wizards.
I've been lucky enough to where every year I've been here, it's kind of gradually increased. I've done a lot more game scouts along with player development. And so from a day-to-day basis, depending on if I have a game scout or not, I'll be looking at film on the previous teams that we're about to play. But also, we all usually have certain players that we work really closely with. And you're trying to figure out ways to help them get better, putting them in game situations in pre-practice during whether it's drills or just talking them through things. And so you're putting them on drills on the court in situations where they might get shots, or maybe it's a defensive thing that they might need to be working on. So you're trying to pinpoint different things in film that you watch and implement them into their drills daily.
Okay, so let's on skill development now. It's a bit of the touchy subject sometimes with coaches. Talk to me about trainers. Trainers have there we go. So trainers have had a growing influence on our game, as we know. When I was growing up, like, there wasn't, only the best of the best players worked with a trainer. Now you've got 4-year-olds who are working with trainers, and some of them are very good, some of them no comment. But so talk to us about that, especially at your level, where you have a coach now on the outside whose mindset and what they want to get out of the player might not match up with what you guys want on your team and what you need the player to be working on. How that relationship works with you, and what your relationship is with their trainers, and whether you think this is a positive development for us in the NBA or in basketball in general, or some things we need to work on. So I wanted to get your thoughts on.
Well, I'll touch a little bit on both. When it comes to trainers with young kids, I think parents just have to kind of do some homework, because I know are a lot of good trainers out there. I've seen some here and there, of course, and there's some that really aren't. I think parents have to do their homework and really find out, like, who's really teaching my kid basketball things that he's going to be able to do, because this generation sees all the highlights. And I mean, granted, you'll see some video that I'll show later on of just simple things that we do that have really helped some of our guys just be successful. But a lot of guys see the Kyrie Irvings, the Steph Currys, all the ball handling and deep threes, which, that's all good. But like we talked about earlier, everybody's going to have a role. That may not be their role when they get older, and when it gets to our level with trainers, I think it's our job to have a relationship with the trainer. Because we will go and see our guy work out with him, and then you can help build a relationship with the trainer that they're working out at, because these are grown men. They can do whatever they want to in the off season. They're still technically a part of our team, but they're still going to go to their own respective places or home places and work out. And that's what you want to do. You want to work out. You don't want them just to sit down and not do anything. So I think it's on us to have a relationship with them, see what we see, and basically make sure they know what we want out of them for the following season. That way they don't come in and maybe they didn't get any better. At least you can have somebody else with a different set of eyes, a different voice to them, that maybe can help put it out to them a different way than maybe we were able to.
All right. So kind of building on that, it's kind of a two-part question. So one of the things that we see, or at least I've seen, and I know I'm not alone here, and especially with young players, is there's a lot of, they're more skilled than they were previously. Like they can do things, like to your point, they're working on those dribble moves that were never something that we talked about 10, 15 years ago as a kid developing. So they have more individual skill, but they don't have the ability to translate that into gameplay as much as we used to have. So first, do you agree with that? Is that something you see as well? And what kind of things can coaches do when they have a kid like that who has individual skill but doesn't necessarily can't necessarily translate that to a game? What can they do from a skill? Are there drills that you can put them in practice? Or are there certain ways that you can kind of get that player to see more how it fits into the whole as a part of just them doing their individual thing?
I think first, they are a whole lot more skilled now, but they struggle putting it into game because of, like we said earlier, they just are so big on the flashy plays, and the flashy play isn't always the best play. Sometimes it's just the easy pass that you should make or the easy catch and go drive that you should make. And that's why I think a lot of the ones that might be just as skilled as others can't put it into a game. You can see guys that may not be as skilled play more because they're just fundamentally sound, and I think as you get older, especially at our level, it helps when they have success doing what you're talking about, because sometimes they may not see it. A lot of people like instant gratification, we say sometimes. And sometimes that's just not how it works. But another way that we can kind of help ourselves out is kind of finding a guy that might be the same niche as one of our players is, and showing him like, man, look how long this guy played in the league. He's doing the same thing that we're asking you to do. And he's been doing it for almost 10, 12 years, stayed in the league, maybe bounced around a couple teams, but he's getting consistent minutes. So that's a way that we kind of can help get away with, guys wanting to get on their roles or understanding like their skill can be just one certain skill and you stick with it all the way through your NBA career instead of trying to expand your game, because you can expand your game for quite a bit when you get maybe a couple years in the league, depending on the team you're with. But not everybody's going to be the Bradley Beals, John Walls, LeBron James. Sometimes you got to be cool with being the Robert Ory's of the world that just come in, play your role, and win games. Because at the end of the day, you want to win.
Yeah, I think that's just getting young players. I mean, that's one of the things that I know I struggled with, and all coaches struggle with, is the player who he's skilled. He may even be better than the players who might be playing a little bit more than him or her, but they can't see it, the big picture. They can't fit their individual skill into the team setting. Whereas someone, like you said, who might not be as skilled as them will make the extra pass, will go set a good screen, will cut at the right time that they have to, where the other players just pounding the oxygen out of the ball at the top of the key and then wondering why they're not getting in there. So it's I know it's hard for a lot of our coaches watching to get that. So I think they'll be at least relieved to hear that. It's hard sometimes for you guys at the same time to get the players to buy into that as well. But that you can get them to buy in, and some won't, but we got to keep trying and keep going after it. And another day is another day. So if it doesn't work the first day, we just keep going at it, and see what we can get out of these guys. Cool. So let's talk about what you wanted to speak about today. So you had some player development stuff you wanted to show us?
Share the screen.
Cool.
I think you're muted.
I am muted. All right. Are you having trouble sharing the screen right now? I think I have to hold on 1 second. I'm going to pause the recording.
Okay.
All right. So you want to show us some player development stuff today, right?
Yes, I have some player development stuff to show you. Just really some simple things that we've done that I feel like have helped our guys out, and that can maybe give you guys some ideas of what it kind of would look like for us in a workout. because I know some people always ask me for video of, what type of player development stuff do you do? And sometimes people think it's just some groundbreaking things. And, sometimes it's just simple and having a little bit of imagination to it. Can you see what I have?
Mute myself. Yes.
Okay. So first off, the subject I'm really going to be showing today is Isak Bonga, because like I said earlier, that's somebody I really work a lot with. And the way I've kind of put this is we're going to have the drills that we do with maybe a little bit of game action where you can kind of see him implementing it. Most of this is going to be drills from our pre-bubble stuff. So during COVID, sometimes you're going to see me with a mask on or me by myself. And a couple times you might see one other coach on the court because that's all we were allowed to have. And I think there's one drill in here where it was before coronavirus hit. So there's going to be a lot of people on the court, which I'm sure all y'all will be able to tell which one that is.
Okay.
So starting off, we have what we call spin finishes. And it's really simple. All it is he's taking a step, having some touch off the backboard with his hand for a layup, and it's really simple. As you can see, all he is stepping through it. And the reason why this is, even though I'm showing this is something he does every day, because I know at the start of the season, he really wasn't great around the rim, which I think at times coaches can really take for granted. That's an aspect of the game that, people take for granted because you see so many athletes that are just able to jump out of the gym, dunk and all that. But some guys that can dunk and jump out of the gym can't finish at the rim if anybody's in front of them.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I think this is one of the things we always try to, with our camps and everything that we do, trying to sell young players on is all these very fundamental, basic things are the pros are doing them too. Like you have guys in the NBA who just working on basic footwork, and you could be playing for 10, 20 years. You're still working on the same basic things. And I even, it's important for coaches, but even players just to see this, that a guy who's a pro just working on your basic footwork and finishing at the rim and constantly harping on those key fundamentals that even when you're first starting on the game, you're working on this stuff. So I think this is really important for people to see.
Definitely. And of course, something like I wish we could add, and I mean, I even put it at the bottom, is we generally want to add some light contact. That way it's a little bit more game-like. And so from here, I kind of tried to grab some things from the game that you can see where it kind of implements a little bit of everything for us. Here you'll see him weak side, being ready for a catch and go finish. Does a great job getting into the body of Paul George. Same running layup that we work on every single day. Of course, he has contact on this one. Another thing we like to implement, this is another just ball handling drill right here. We call this one weak hand development. And I'll even rewind it for you real quick. So right here, we want him to be in a basketball stance with both hands up. That way he's used to being low, because we try to work with him on being low because he's about 6'9", so it's really hard for him to be low, but that's what he's going to have to do because he has to be a defensive stopper for us. So this is kind of a way for us to, I don't want to say cheat the process, but get something different out of the drill at the same time. So here you can see he's low, he has both hands up. First time he's just throwing it back. Second time it's a pound push. Then I added a combo to it. Something Isak is really good at is cutting to the rim. And this is something he gets every game almost, is a cut to the basket. So all I did, we did the whole ball handling situation, simple cut finish, finishing at the rim. Really basic.
I really like how you've taken what is a drill that a lot of us will do, our stationary ball handling with our weak hand development there, and just add that game like situation with that cut. So it's taking a drill that a lot of people do, but now you add that little extra game element. So now it really translates into what you're going to do out on the court, not just working on that fundamental. So
definitely. And here we have the same exact thing, same type of setup, pound push combo. The only difference now is it's almost a middle drive. He's flowing away, same type, whatever finish he wants at the rim. Just kind of putting everything together to where it's a game like. And here you can see it coming to fruition right here. Almost same thing. Guys, Ruiz in the middle, back cut for a layup. And then right here, this is where we have our shuffle attack series. This way it's more of an attacking dribble. A guy like Isak for us isn't necessarily a person that's going to get any type of one-on-ones. Most of his is going to be out of a transition attack or a catch and go attack. But here it kind of just helps him have to worry about his ball handling first. But the thing I like the most about our drill right here is that we're able to add a defender. So even though he's not 6'10", 6'11", a normal thing, he at least has a body in front of him to where he has to have a solution at the rim. So now he can kind of have his own imagination finishing. And then we just added something simple. Of course, he turns it over right here, but just having a touch finish in the paint, because for him, he's going to have a lot of finishes in the paint, whether it's off of his cuts, offensive rebounds, whatever. Gary Payton's the same way, working on his ball handling, finding a way to finish at the rim, making sure he finishes, having a touch finish. And here we have Isak in the game with it, and it's something simple, attacking the rim, going through contact finishing. Another one. Here's a driving kick. And this is kind of where our touch finishes come into it. He stays around the rim. Not saying we're doing all that as a coach trying to knock him down, but I think him being used to having contact on a daily basis and going through it, help him be used to that. And he can get angles, because you kind of see the angle that he has on this layup against Joakim Noah. It's almost like one of our spin finishes, with him stepping, and he kind of has a way of the rhythm of the ball coming off the backboard into the rim.
So when I know a lot of coaches, when they're putting together, like the worst drill in the history of drills is the simple layup line, because it presents nothing that you would do in a game. You will never get the ball where you catch the ball on a layup line and go into the rim. But I know every coach, when they're first starting out, that's one of the first things they do, especially in warmups. So how often, you see there, you put that defender in, just understanding, getting that player to understand that after you beat that first line of defense, like, your job's not done yet. There's going to be the second, third line of defenders, and how you adjust and how you either score or kick out from there. So is that something when you're working on finishing, is that always something you want to try to put in, where it's not, you're never just doing a straight line finish? Like, you might get that in transition every now and then, but it's not game realistic. It's not half court.
You try not to have as many of those, just because it isn't really game realistic. Most of the time there is going to be a help defender, unless it's just a really bad defensive team or somebody is just falling asleep. So even if it's not a guy at the rim, at least have somebody to me in front of the ball that can kind of run with him to the rim. That way it's still not technically a straight line drive, but at least he has some type of contact on him. That way he gets used to just having a body on him and having to still finish at the rim.
Totally.
Another drill we have right here is, we call it one man. We call it good to great. Generally, we have a coach right now that's in the right corner who he's going to make the pass to. We generally would have another player in that spot, and he would shoot this jump shot. But being this is during the pandemic, we kind of had to simplify it and make it a little bit different. So, and this is a simple drill for us too, because we talk about making the easy pass or the extra pass. So right here, we'll hit Isak. He just makes an extra pass, gets a second ball for a catch and shoot. Another ball comes for us, catch and shoot. Really simple drill. And you really want to harp on as much as you can, making sure that his passes are basically hitting our coach in the numbers, or making it a good pass. You don't want it to be a pass that's all over the place, because that's really not helping him out on anything. You want him to be working on, if it's a good to great and you got to make the right pass, if that defender's coming up to take you and you have the corner open, you want to make sure you hit him in the shooting pocket. That way it's an easier shot for him. And especially for someone like Isak, most of his shots are going to be catch and shoot threes, which you'll see right here, having him be ready to shoot all the time, hands ready, being down. And then this is another good clip of him, because it kind of adds in what he does anyways. As you're going to see, he's going to get the ball. It's going to be up top. He's going to cut to the rim, something we work on all the time. Wasn't as hard as you might have liked it, but then he respaces and he's going to be ready to shoot. Same thing we work on every day. And then here, this is just us adding a little bit of defense, because at times, adding defense can be tough. And I'll be honest with you, adding defense during the pandemic with nobody else to help you out is pretty tough too. But this is just a way to kind of get them, and this is where kind of your imagination as a coach can come in, because you have to try to put them in situations that can help them out in a game, right? So for us, I'm pretty sure if I remember right, Ryan Richmond talked about kind of 80-20 defense or corner defense if you're guarding the corner, right? So right here we have Isak guarding the corner. I'm up top. And all this is predicated on a pass fake, because that's the only way I could kind of make it realistic, is if I had a pass fake to initiate like a pass was made to the corner, right? So here you'll see me at the top. Every time I made a pass to the corner, he'd have to do a closeout every single time. Now, I initiated as if it was a drive and he has to come help off. The thing with this is that we were trying to work on what we call X-out closeouts. So here you see me drive, that initiated that we'd have a roller to the rim, and Isak's supposed to take the roller because he's the bottom guy of the eye. So by me faking the pass to the guy at the wing, even though there's nobody there, Isak's job is to take the second pass, which the second pass would be to the corner. So you'll see Isak get a stick hand closeout as if the pass is there, and we turn it right into catch and shoot threes, which is exactly what he'd be asked to do in the game.
So just going back to that drill right before this, the good shot, great shot, or good, great, as you call it. So how hard, especially when you have, say, a younger player like Isak, a developing player, and how hard is it to get them to understand that concept of a good shot versus the better shot in the corner, getting that one more pass to the corner, or it's your turn to shoot. So yeah, if that's Berton's in the corner or that's Brad in the corner, yeah, you should probably swing it because he's open. But if it's not, maybe I'm not going to say anybody else's name because I don't want to get in trouble. But if it's someone else who's maybe not a great shooter, or it's your shot, it's your time to shoot, that we work to get you that shot and you need to shoot it then and have confidence to step up and knock it down. What's that process like? Just getting them to buy into, hey, you're here, you're in the league, you're good. So you need to shoot when it's your turn to shoot. But at the same time, that guy is, 45% 3-point shooter. If he's more open, don't take that shot. Even though it might be a good shot for you, that's a better shot for him in the corner because he's one of the best players in the league. What's that process like?
The way, first off, we try to do it, of course, with more people on the court. That way you can make it more of a live drill to where they have to read if the guy, if we had the coach, if we had a player in the corner, of course, we could have a coach basically as the bottom guy as the X out, to where we could make the pass to Isak. Well, now he could see the defender at the bottom guarding our coach, whether or not he was coming to take Isak or he was going to the corner already. That kind of helps us get him the whole thought process of when he should shoot and when he shouldn't. Now, when it comes to, of course, the better shooters in the corner or not, I know the way we try to make it is that regardless of what it is, make the right pass. Even if the guy isn't a better shooter in the corner, the basketball might just tell you, hey, you got to make that pass because that's a more open shot. Or maybe that creates an opportunity for him to make a play and you still get the shot. So that's how we can kind of, play around with the idea of, even though there's a better shooter in the corner or a worse shooter in the corner, you have to trust that the ball's going to find you regardless. That way, if you make the pass in, then maybe the next time down, the same thing's happening to you. You don't have to worry about the guy. Is the guy going to pass it to me or is he not? Because we've already ingrained in our team that, you got to trust your teammate and trust that everybody's going to make the right play. And so here, going back to like the 80-20, and here I could be nitpicky, because I know Ryan talked about it a little bit. When you're guarding the corner, you shouldn't leave it all because you don't want to give up strong side corner threes. Here he kind of goes a little bit too far, but he does a great job at least getting back to the shooter and not allowing a catch and shoot three, because that's the one thing you don't want to give up as a team. Same thing we have here. Now he's up at the elbow. Same concept. Ball fake, gets his closeout. Now on the drive, he's the top man of the eye. So now he should have first pass out. So wherever I make the pass to, he's closing out. Same thing. You see him chopping his steps, getting low, stick hand closeout. Same thing. Now he's got 2 catch and shoot threes. Really simple drills, but the same thing that he's going to be asked to do in a game. And right here's just an example of him being up at the top. Especially for Isak, it's big because that's who he has to be. You can see him at the top, drive comes, here he comes over, taking the roller. Basically being able to put stuff we do in drills right into a game. And I think this is one of the biggest things that I've learned over my short coaching career so far is as much as you can combine things together, the better it can be. Right here, you see it's a defensive drill, starts off with a simple D slide. It's really trying to work on him being low in his stance and really sliding his feet. Then it turns into him defending a step up, right? The way we do it, if it's a like size, we can switch. Somehow he gets clipped, as we talked, or hit on the screen. So now it becomes a switch. Kind of hard to see because we don't have a lot of people on the court, but I can help talk it through. So now what we're calling is he's fronting the post. Usually what we would like is that we had a bigger guy backside, let's say a Thomas Bryant or a Mo Wagner. We'd like them to kick out the smaller guy that's on the big and make him get to the opposite corner. So when I pick the ball up, you can see him trying to get out, sprint to the opposite corner, stick hand, close out. And the reason I like this drill, this is exactly what we're going to ask Isak to do anyways. Defend, run the floor, get to the rim, finishing at the rim, because this is kind of toward the end of the workout right here, and knock down open shots. So it puts it all together. And another thing that coaches have to really be wary of is what is this player going to be asked to do? You don't want to put guys in situations that they just aren't going to be. And it kind of goes back to what we talked to before. Guys want to work, a lot of guys want to work on their handles. They want to work on deep threes. Not everybody's going to be able to do that. So if you can find out what the guy has to do for your team in order to play or for your team to be successful, the better your workout can be because you can put them in the exact situations that you want to be put in. And that way, when they get in the game, it's not like it's a shock to them what they're really supposed to be doing.
So away from, say, the coaching side of things, for a developing player, what's the balance between, doing the stuff that you need to do to make your team better, but then also in your player development, being able to work on those weaknesses, the things that you might not have in your game yet that you need to get better at and you want to get better at because you want to either, whether it's a high school player who wants to advance to the next level or whether it's the NBA guy who wants to make that jump to a better contract or something like that, being able to do things that are outside your comfort zone and expand your game versus what we're seeing here where we're really focusing on the stuff that he's going to do in a game.
I think the best way to me to put it is that the way you can really work on your game is you got to really work on it more in the off season. I remember playing, I once had a coach that told me, hey, don't practice something you don't work on. Don't use a game to practice on what you don't do well. Because if you're doing it in a game, you're probably not going to be playing very much. A way that we can do it, we can work on weaknesses, of course, up to a certain point, in our pre-practice and things like that during the season, just to try to help get it a little bit better. But I think in order to really make drastic changes, it really helps more in the off season. It's hard to really change something in a small span of time when you're worried about, fatigue, stamina. Players are worried about playing time. A lot of other extra things are going on. So where in the off season, you can literally just focus on your game and how you can improve yourself.
And for the coaching side of things, how much time? So now, AAU coaches, middle school coaches, some high school coaches, space and time are a big issue for them. They don't necessarily have the gym space all the time. And when they do get it, they might get it for an hour, sometimes even less. So a lot of them will just focus largely on just let's run the plays, let's run our sets, let's look at what our defense is going to be. And that's it because we don't have a lot of time. But how important do you think it is that even in those situations where you don't have that space or that time that obviously a professional basketball team is, or even your elite high school teams have, to really focus on player development and skill development in your practices every day, even though, you may not have the time that you other programs might have?
I think you kind of have to integrate it a little bit into certain drills because I think every drill that you can do as a coach can implement some sort of player development into it. Maybe not as drastic as you'd like to see it. Like you can see us doing everything, 1v1, one player, one or two coaches, and it's just him. You can still get player development just from doing a combo drill. simple driving kicks with your team, because at least you're still teaching spacing, still teaching passing on time, on target. And if you want to add finishes to it, you can still have a coach at the rim, which still gets play development because you're having to worry about finishing at the rim. There's different aspects that you can add, even if you don't have as much time or space, that can still work on your concepts as a team, but also still develop your players in a way that helps them get better.
Unmute myself there. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good.
Cool. Is there anything else on our video here, or?
I think this is the last thing I had. I made this the last clip because, I could show everything I would like to about Isak and all the stuff, but this is the only reason why he would be playing for us. And this is the only way he could really help us win right now, is if he defends, right? And so everything you saw a lot at the end was him defensively, and basically him defending Devin Booker, who, if everybody watched the bubble, was probably one of the best, if not the best player in the bubble before the playoffs started, had a great defensive possession. And I know for us, in developmental wise, this is the type of stuff you want to see, because it means the guy is understanding what his role is going to be going forward and how he can affect winning.
Cool. So, look, Coach, that was great. That was a lot of information. I know our coaches watching are really going to get a lot out of that. That really, the way you show how you can break down in your skill development, in your player development, break down game-like situations, and not just do our traditional, more summer stuff, and be able to do that during the season and help your players out. I know they're going to appreciate that. So really appreciate you taking some time for us today. And yeah, thanks a lot. Really, that was great.
Appreciate it, Shan. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. We'll see everybody next time.